See, in the last discussion, I concluded with the situations of conversation. Now, during communications, verbal communications, there is something called, building up conversation. How do you build up the conversation? I am going to speak something about it, give some clue, then I will go to the good and bad conversations. How do you build the conversation? You first find a topic. The topic which you decide that we are going to speak on this. You generate a topic, you ask the other person that, see, this is what I would like to know from you, would you kindly share your views on this? The topic got generated. You do not decide something like this, today let us talk about this topic, we never do it such formally. Topic gets generated. So, conversation is built over a topic if you have a right topic, and then the exchange of thoughts. See, the topic, the conversation will be healthy, conversation will be right if the topics are common to both the conversationalists, or if it is useful to all the persons who are participating in this conversation. Okay. So, the topic is very, very essential. The topic, again I will bring forward, if you are talking to an opposite sex, your topic has to be very restricted. If you are talking to your unequals, your topic has to be restricted. If your topic is essentially in parties, then you have to be careful about it. If your topic is in a kind of religious institution, it has to be you have to be very careful. So you don't suddenly spring up with any topic anywhere. Okay. So you decide which topic you want to converse in, and who are the persons you are going to converse. It's something like, I can tell you, going to a funeral, if you are standing next to a person who is also aggrieved, and if the person has lost his relative for whose funeral you have gone there, then your topic is almost like appreciating the person who is just now deceased. Okay? And you start saying all good things about that particular person whom you have lost, and you are saying that to his son who is standing next to you, and you are conversing with him all good points. Imagine if your topic had been just reversed, that you go there for funeral and the person is lying in the pyre or in the coffin, and his son is standing next to you, and you start commenting and criticizing that particular person that he did not do this for you, and these are the kind of things which you did not like about the person. How does the other person feel? Is it a right conversation? No. So, the topic selection is a kind of it shows your emotional and intellectual status. Okay. Exchange of thoughts is another. Means when you want to have a conversation, you want to build up a conversation, you exchange your thoughts with somebody. Quite often you will find that if you are traveling and you are in a flight, and there is a person who is sitting next to you, and both of you have spent about half an hour time when the plane took off, and then suddenly you find that you have 2 hours time to pass, and then 2 hours time you can always sleep, but you prefer not to sleep. You desire that you should be having a conversation with a person. Now, the situation is he is a stranger. The situation is he is a stranger, and now you exchange your thoughts with him with some kind of pleasantries, trying to know where he is going to. Don't poke much, don't try to know more, okay, about his insights or his personal histories. You can always have a pleasantries and exchange your thoughts in terms of saying something like, the flight is little longer. Start with this. What do you think? You will say, yeah, it is 2 hours, it's too long. Then if you start saying, and for 2 hours the leg space is not good enough, you will say, yes, I also agree the leg space is not good enough. And then suppose you start saying, the inside is not that cool, he also, maybe he is saying, it's all right, I find it's all right, but the thing is the topic has been generated. You generated a topic and already you have exchanged 3 pairs of sentences. He might not have agreed in one, the last one, but the thing is the topic got generated. And then in that case you will find that maybe the 4th question he will shoot to you saying that where are you going to? Where are you coming from? What are you? What is your purpose of going to the city? He is not going to be really pokey. He is not going to find out all your, exactly whom you are going to meet, but he would like to know more about you. And then he will ask you about your background, means your education level, your experience level. You will find that conversation now got built up. I can assure you, if it starts with the pleasantries, Even the strangers spending 2 to 2.5 hours on a flight becomes friend when they leave. And not only that, they become business partners when they leave. Not only that, it may so happen that the person who is sitting next to you, who was a stranger about 2 hours back, now he is thinking about associating you for his projects where you are going to gain. It has happened with me. It happens to many. The point is, exchange of thoughts is very essential. So what is important is, how do you build the conversation? You don't start with building the conversation. Don't start a topic simply asking that who are you, what are you, what's your name. No, don't have such kind of unwise kind of beginning. You begin with it's just like breaking the ice. You remember I said earlier, the breaking the ice. Both of you are now ice. You are frozen. Now you break the ice with some pleasantries and with some helps, with some supports, and then you will find automatically the conversation will build up, and finally maybe end of the day you will be beneficiated. So changing subjects, in the conversation building I said that okay, in the whole conversation consistency is important. But imagine if the consistency is important and you are for 2 hours, 3 hours here speaking on the same topic, same thing, you will find there will be lots of repetitions which are coming out, and such repetitions are going to be negative because the repetitions are going to make you bored. Repetitions is not going to make you happy, not pleasing. So what happens is, when you find that this particular topic has almost dying into its own situation, it's almost over, there's nothing much to contribute in it, then it is better that you change your topic. When you change your subject, then you will find a fresh discussion will start. And the fresh discussion, and you can always take permission that okay, we have talked about this football game enough. Can you now think about some movie which you have seen recently? No problem. You will find that everybody will be freshly starting, yeah, it's best, can we talk about it? And sometimes you do it very subtly without taking any permission. You can always give a kind of hint, something like, you talk about the football and then you say, do you know that what happened yesterday? You'll say, what? You'll say that actually I went for a movie and the movie was like this, and I had to stand in a queue for about an hour for buying the ticket. And then when I entered, I found that the movie was rubbish. That means you have changed your topic from football game to the movie. You did it in such subtly that you made everybody curious towards you, and then then they will start saying that which movie was rubbish which he has seen, which movie is better. He will suggest you that why don't you go to that movie. So the topic keeps on rolling from one to another. So consistency, when it is important, consistency I am saying within that particular limited time. Consistency does not mean that if you are chatting or if you are conversing for 2 hours, that 2 hours is single topic. No, change your topic one after another. That is how the conversation is built. Then airing views. This is another way of conversing. You air your views. You remember just now I have given the flight example in which you started saying that the inside is not very cool. You aired your views to the other person who is a stranger, but you did it so subtly and took his opinion. And you have said that the leg space is not good. You aired your views, isn't it? You basically what you did is, it doesn't really matter. Both of you can't do anything in terms of increasing your leg space in the flight. But what you did is you aired your views on an issue which he is also involved in. So if he finds that yes, he is also having the same kind of opinion that the leg space is not good enough, then your airing views now goes into positive building a conversation. And then he starts and he says, yes, I agree that it's not enough. And sometimes it happens, I've heard in the flight, somebody is commenting, oh my God, what kind of food they are giving. It's absolutely bad. This other person says, I fully agree with you, it's a bad food that they are giving. See, aired your views in your negative sentences, but the thing is that matched with him. I can assure you one thing with this example. Suppose you have aired your views saying what the in-flight food that they are giving, snacks that they are giving is not of good quality. And if the other person says, I don't think it is bad, it is quite good, I think I like it, I can assure you the conversation will not grow, because now you are on the opposite sides and you are not matching with each other. And he also had the courage to object to your opinion. So the moment he says, I don't mind it, it's quite good, I think, then you will find that the second sentence you have nothing to say. You certainly will not say, oh, in that case, even if you think the food is good, but do you think the leg space is good? That means now it goes to argument. That will not be the right conversation. So it is not, conversation will not be built, because conversation has to be built over the consistency of topic and the coherence of it. It's not necessary that everybody has to agree to the same points, but it has to be coherent. Okay, so airing views is another way, and adding to conversations. See, conversation gets built when you add something to the conversation. It's something like, say, out of the 3 persons, 2 persons are very good speaker, very active speaker, and the third person, he speaks very little. Then you will find in the whole conversation, if you watch them from a distance, all 3 persons who are conversing, you will find those 2 are conversing to each other, and that's 2 persons conversation, and the third person is sitting quite idle and listening, and sometime he will look at this person, and the next time he will look at this person, and again this person and this person. This is not a good conversation building. In conversation building is this, something like, when these 2 persons are conversing on a topic, which why the third person is not adding anything to this conversation, because he is not knowledgeable about it, he is not informed about it, he is not intellectually matured about this particular topic. That's why he is keeping quiet. He is right in that sense, but he can be drawn into conversation by one of the persons saying, what is your opinion on this? Say 2 persons are conversing, say, for about 15 minutes, and this person is sitting idle and quietly watching each other one another whenever they are speaking. So this person can be drawn into the conversation by inviting him, what's your opinion what we are saying? You can always say, what's your opinion about what we are discussing about? What's your viewpoint on this particular topic? That means you are adding to the conversation. Okay. Now, when you do this, next comes again the other points like rounding up. When you are conversing, the conversation has to be rounded up. The whole conversation which you have built over some topics, by adding or by communicating with each other, it has to be rounded up. It has to be closed somewhere. If the conversation is not rounded up, then it leaves open opportunity for further conversation. So every time any conversation that goes on, at least one expression has to be said, saying, oh good, today we had a nice chat, today we had a wonderful discussion and I have gained. If you say this, that means you are concluding. And if you say something like, yes, we had a discussion for 2 hours, but I didn't agree to your points, maybe that some other day we will discuss about it, then it's not a good conversation that you have really built. You only had a conversation but did not build the conversation which has a closer. So conversation has to be closed very, very smoothly and with etiquettes and manners. Conversation cannot be thrown away. Something like, it happens quite often amongst friends when they are discussing. Out of the 5, one of the persons is not winning in his putting his points forward by airing his views, and he becomes arrogant, and he finally throws away everything and saying, I don't agree to this, I don't want to be a party to this conversation, I am leaving. That means he left. The moment he is leaving, basically he is throwing away his anger onto the conversation, and that point of time, if you really watch, you will find everybody is shocked. They didn't expect that this person is going to behave such manner, and they didn't. Now after that, the conversation will not be built in continuity. You will find the conversation suddenly will stop. And the people will say, okay, some other day we will discuss about it. What is this? He is talking like this. He didn't even understand what we wanted to say. All negatives will start coming. That is not conclusion. That's not rounding it up. That's only rejection or somewhere intermittent stop of the conversation. That is not the one I am saying as a conversation building. Then comes exploring jointly. The conversation is built when every party to the conversation explores jointly. That means one person says something, another person adds something or contests something, but the discussion keeps on rolling. Okay, when everyone is exploring with respect to the focus to the topic, not doing swaying away from the topic, and that access of the topic is not violated, in such cases you will find the conversation is built. And then comes mental aptitude. This mental aptitude is something which I said just now, that out of the 3 persons, the third person could not participate or add to the conversation. The reason was he does not have the mental aptitude for that particular topic. He may be great. He may be saying something good. He may have a lot of other knowledge. He may be knowledgeable about the rest of the topics except this topic. So that's why amongst the conversation amongst the friends on any specific games like cricket or football, if suppose there are 3 persons and 2 persons are in a connoisseur of football game and the third person is the connoisseur of cricket, not the football, then you will find this conversation is not going to be very healthy. And well, he will not be a spoilsport in the whole conversation. He is only going to remain quiet because he doesn't take interest in football game. These 2 persons are conversing, so it becomes now a paired conversation. So, mental aptitude is very, very important. It is expected in conversation building that whenever the conversation is being built, it is with the similar mental aptitude. It is because of which even the conversation between a child and the grandfather, conversation between the husband and the wife, conversation between two male friends, two female friends, all matters with that mental aptitude of the persons who are participating in it. What is very important in conversation building is sincerity and frankness. It has to be there. One has to be frank when he is saying something. He should be sincere about putting points. It is something like, you cannot build a conversation just out of the hat. It has to be said with some sincerity. So, sincerity and frankness is essential in conversation building. And then the question comes, how long this particular conversation should last? I give you a clue. You cannot, just 24 hours you cannot spend on a conversation. Then it is not a healthy conversation. Conversation has to last for a certain specific time. At the same time, when you are initiating a conversation, you don't know how long it will last. But I can tell you that half an hour conversation is a good time. 1 hour is still fair enough. But if it is 1.5 hours, it becomes now boring. If it is 2 hours, now it becomes irritating. If it is beyond that, you will find gradually people will fall apart from this participating in the conversation. So, half an hour is a very good time. But anything less than that, you don't build up and ultimately come to a climax of the conversation. This is what is my experience, as I do see, while teaching in the class, I find that, okay, this is the number of minutes I should spend to hold on the interest of the students. Beyond this, if I go, I have a lot of things to share, but beyond that, if I go, I find that interest will be losing. Of course, the students are, they are very well mannered, that they will be attending the class and fully being attentive, but I know mentally, gradually I am losing their interest. Same thing is in the conversation. Conversation has to have a time. That time frame you don't declare initially, but the time frame you decide when you are flowing with the conversation. Now, then comes certain things called good conversation. So, if I say that the conversation has been built, now let me summarize first the earlier ones. You have to have a good art of speaking. That means vocabulary wise, choice of word wise, and your speaking ability wise, your voice intonations, your voice modulations, okay, and everything, the speed, everything matters in that. So, art of conversation you have imbibed, and then you are generating your conversation, building conversation in diverse situations. So, whatever I have discussed till this particular point, you just repeatedly read that and listen to me, you will get a clue. And always my advice is, since I am drawing all the experiences from my personal and others, and also researching on from different other books, there are several points which I am not being able to say within my limited time here. But the thing is, there are so many things which can further be elaborated upon. I suggest you draw your experiences, draw the examples from your own experiences, and then you analyze each and every point. All the diverse situations that I said, always put yourself in individual situation and try to see what kind of conversation is likely to be there, what is fair, what is unfair. Okay? Then I am dividing this into two parts. One is the good conversation, another is the frustrated or bad conversation. Okay? The good conversation. Good conversation is such conversation when there are anecdotes, the conversations differentiated from other talk. That means it's not just simply talking to each other. You are conversing. Conversation basically brings two minds and the heart close to each other. Talking to each other is always formal. You can always speak to somebody. In class, when I speak, I'm talking. But the moment I generate a question and then I expect an answer, the student gives me an answer, and I am also clarifying this, asking for further clarification. Basically, what I am doing is I am now conversing. So, as long as I was talking from one side, I was always using my chalkboard or LCD or whatever presentations, I was talking. But the moment I asked some questions, they started answering right or wrong, then I clarify. There are questions asked, basically we have gone into the conversation mode. So, good conversation is differentiated from just simply talking. And quite often, most often, you will find people who think that they are very good speaker. Quite often they convert the conversation to a talk, and that is unfortunate. unfortunate is because, see, the thing is, I may not be a good speaker, I may not have good command over the language, but the other person has. That does not mean that he'll keep on speaking, and I'll not be allowed to speak even a single word, or maybe if at all I'm only speaking 10% of the entire episode. That means he has dominated over me. So the situation is that he only wanted to talk and he wanted me to listen to. That is not the good conversation. Then comes the experience. In this experience, the good conversation comes from the experience. Good conversation comes from your knowledge. If you are knowledgeable, if you are experienced, then when you are conversing, you are keeping your balance. You are keeping your emotional balance, and you are speaking. And you are sharing your knowledge, you are sharing your ideas, sharing your views with experience and knowledge. So naturally, automatically people will be drawn towards you, and now you have a good experienced conversation. Exuberance. Here basically a good conversation is which excites others. Excites means excites for happiness. People become very happy to participate in the conversation. They want to add something, they want to join. It's just like in a family. An example, that parents, father and mother, they are talking, they are conversing on something. A child enters that particular room. Okay? The moment the child has entered, what will happen now? What do you expect? The parents will keep on talking on their own topics which they have focused, and the child will enter not being welcomed. And then the whole conversation now will take a different tone. The reason is another person, another member in the whole group entered, but not being able to participate. Then you will find whole conversation topic will now roll over to the next one. It's more like, liking the children, loving the children, and appreciating the children. So that is the way the whole thing keeps on going. So exuberance, that should come from this. Okay, now then comes generalization. Good conversation is when you don't become very, very specific, very, very dogmatic. Okay, so that means you are generalizing it. When there is a generalization, the conversation becomes very healthy, and everybody knows that conversation is short-living. Everybody understands that. Whoever is initiating it and whoever is participating in it, they know in any situation, all the diverse situation I said, conversation is going to be a short-living. It's a temporal affair. So when it is there, the generalization is the best for good conversation. And the gossip is one of the good conversation. Gossip means you are now chatting for fun. I don't mean gossiping about somebody else, ridiculing somebody. I don't mean that. Gossiping is chit-chatting for fun, and it means no menace, means no harm to anybody, means no insult to anybody, but you are just having fun in discussions. Okay, that is good conversation. And then comes another set in the good conversation, which is jokes. So jokes makes good conversation. And quite often I have found that in a group, if suppose there is one person who cuts jokes, but of course intelligent jokes, I am very, very, very in favor of intelligent jokes, and intelligent jokes that tickles us and gives us a kind of emotional pleasure. Intelligent jokes. Such people are very good conversationalists. That does not mean that he will keep on cutting jokes in all sentences. Then again it becomes negative. Anything too much in a conversation is not good. Any time in a conversation that is built up and one person is always objecting in the conversation is not good. So there has to be a fair balance between everything. So if the whole conversation is going out of which within that one person has suddenly cut a joke which makes everybody hilarious, everybody laughs at it, laughs out loud, and then again goes back to the topic and starts discussing, is very, very healthy. Okay, the moderating a conversation is important. See, the conversation go in any direction. It can suddenly become very serious. It can become very loose and diluted. It can become only fun and frolic. So that is not good. There has to be a moderating of conversation. Who does that? In fact, nobody is assigned for this. Amongst this group, different persons will do the job themselves. Understanding the demand of the situation. Something like, I'll give an example. Suppose you are talking about something, and suddenly the whole discussion focused onto a particular person, and then you start doing character assassination. Everybody starts doing character assassination of that particular person who is not here. Everybody is talking about that, and it keeps on going. 15 minutes, 20 minutes. At that point of time, if it goes on a negative conversation. So it's not a good conversation. At that point of time, one person suddenly says, okay, we have talked enough about this. Why don't you change the topic? Let's talk about something better. That means he is moderating the conversation. He just moderated in such a way, express that nobody should go forward in this particular topic anymore. Let's close the topic, start with another topic if you want, or else you stop the conversation. This is how it is. So it's a good conversation. Then shyness and exuberance, basically what happens is, you're in this particular situation, in the good conversation, exuberance is important. Shyness is to a certain extent, limitations. But yet I can always say people who are in general shy in nature, they can be very good conversationalists. In that they can contribute because they have a decorum, they have a protocol in their mind, and they know how to behave well, and they know what is the gravity of the situation in which the conversation is being built up. So this helps. Quality versus quantity is a very important factor in this. See, what is important is that in the whole conversation it should be of good quality, not necessarily a large quantity. That simply means you can have a conversation of 2 minutes, you can have a conversation of 5 minutes, you can have a conversation for 5 hours. But the thing is, what is most important is, it's immaterial how much is the quantity. What is most important is what is the quality of the conversation. Even two persons in the neighborhood meeting on the road and just exchanging their views on the community affairs for 2 minutes is a good conversation. But those two persons standing over there for 1 hour and trying to do all character association, all the members in the neighborhood and the system, it's a bad conversation because it has a good quantity, but the quality of the discussion is not right. Okay, then comes important thing, when to hold tongue. See, I am very serious about it. You should know during conversation when should you hold your tongue. That means you want to say something but you just don't say. That is hold your tongue. This is one thing which saves everybody from getting a bad results from any conversation. A good conversationalist is the person who knows when to hold his tongue. Let's meet 2-3 persons meeting together, generated a topic, fine, fair enough. But the thing is, the topic took a turn which is a very nasty turn, and everybody started saying all negative things. You also have an opportunity to say something negative. You feel seriously that you should say something negative, and you then decide, no, it is such negative that I should not say anything more. Then in such cases, we know by holding tongue, how people respond. They say, okay, I have many points to say, but I don't want to say. That means I am holding my tongue. Here you are declaring that you don't want to say, but there is another way. Remaining silent is also holding your tongue. But only thing is, psychologists will say, if you remain silent, that means it is not really understood you are on which side of this particular viewpoints. If there are differing viewpoints, which side you are in. So if suppose you don't want any further discussion, you hold your tongue, you say that I don't want to say anything more on this issue. So one should know how to hold one's tongue. If I take all these points into my negotiation discussions, I will bring back again a reference to this. You will find a good conversationalist will have all these. And the good conversationalist as a negotiator, when he is sitting across the negotiation table and he doesn't agree to the kind of offer that you are getting and he wants to leave that particular place, at that point of time he will hold his tongue. He will not use foul words. He will not express foul mannerisms. He will hold his tongue and very politely he will say, I don't agree with this agreement, so we leave. That is also one way of holding your tongue. That means you wanted to say the offer that you are making is absolutely rubbish, which is, it's very arrogant. Not only that, it's basically you have no logic of this offer that you are making, which I am not being able to accept. There are so many negative things you could have said, but you don't say that. You say, I don't agree to this particular offer that you are giving, so let's not discuss anymore. We can close this discussion. That is how holding your tongue. Then comes the frustrating conversations. Frustrating conversations are basically bad conversations. That means the conversations which does not really give you any kind of good feeling. Antipathy during discussion. You want to generate a discussion with somebody, you want to have a conversation, you have conversed, but it has created antipathy, a rejection, a hatred. That's a frustrating conversation. Then comes a bad conversationalist is another, means where you will find that the conversation is somebody wants to make, he always does something which is contrary to what a good conversationalist will do. So that is the bad conversationalist. And then comes the boredom. If in the conversation the boredom generates, then you find it's not a good conversation, it becomes a frustrated conversation. Any conversation should be lively. If you recall, initially I said it's a game play which should be lively, which should be pleasing, which should give you, elated, which should make you excited, which should entertain you. That means a frustrating conversation is when you are bored. Quite often you'll find you met your friend after say 10 years and he keeps on having conversation with you, but you don't like it. You're not liking it. You simply don't want to spend any more time, but just to not to give him idea that you are not liking him, you are wasting your time sitting with him, but you are bored. So it's a frustrating conversation, and frustrating conversation is also that which does not, where you don't gain anything. Disqualifications, if somebody disqualifies your points frequently, it's a frustrating conversation. The lack of effect, that means the effect, ultimate effect which I said is going to be created with respect to the conversations, which is positive, pleasing. If there is a lack of effect, that means you spent your 1 hour discussing with somebody or conversed with somebody, but you don't go back with happiness. You are not pleased about it. You didn't like it. You became bored. You found that you have been always intimidated. In such kind of cases, you will find that it's a frustrating conversation. Then the other, like say, if the conversation is done through monologues, that means you didn't get any opportunity to speak. In the conversation you were a party and the others spoke, you didn't get a chance. So if suppose in the monologue you will find in the group discussion what happens is the menace of we found the menace sometime in the group discussion is that there are some people who always tries to speak more. When they try to speak more, they try to also see that the others don't speak at all, and that way they are thinking they're impressing the evaluator. In fact, that goes negative, because nobody wants persons in his team who speaks in monologue. That means he only wants to speak. Okay, it has to be a dialogue. That means two persons must be allowed to speak, or at least a pair of persons. And another is monopolizing the talk. That means now again the similar. That means you are monopolizing the whole talk and not allowing anybody. And monologue is in the one tone you keep on speaking is also negative. So make it monotonous. That is bad, frustrating conversation. And the lack of personal involvement. That means in that frustrating conversation here is when a person is there in the group but personally not involved. Either he is quiet, or if he is asked an opinion, he gives his opinion, but the thing is he does not really give it with sincerity and frankness. It's a frustrating conversation. And then the purpose of conversation. If the purpose of the conversation is not positive, then it's a frustrating conversation. Okay, this is how, if you really see that the whole of your conversation starts coming to an end. Friends, you go through it once again thoroughly. Then you will understand, when I'll talk about the negotiations in my next lecture, you will find that if you are a good conversationalist, then you are likely to win in the negotiation. And if you are a bad conversationalist, quite likely to lose, even if you have a lot of strength, intrinsic strength and qualities and qualifications. Because end of the day, everybody wants to listen to good things in a good manner, with a proper humility and proper respect. Okay? So in your conversations, verbal conversations, it is expected that you will be always performing as a good conversationalist. I hope this point I have made it very clear. So when I'll talk about the negotiations next time, I will take cues from here. Thank you. Thank you very much.